All set? Okay, we'll come to order. First item of business is the agenda.
I'm gonna move to accept the agenda as presented with the addition of approving the promotion of Corporal Robert Leslie to the rank of jail sergeant under item 9E and the deletion under agenda item 10A of the removal of Lucas Keene from the county payroll.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So unanimous. Next is public comment. Is there anybody here to speak? Anybody online? Okay, we'll move on. Next is approval of the June 20th special meeting minutes.
I'm gonna move to approve the minutes of the June 20, 2023 Commissioners' Special Meeting as presented.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye, I'm sorry, aye.
Yeah, so unanimous. Next up is ARP, Mission Broadband Update. We have a report for us. Is there anybody?
No, he's on vacation. So I'm gonna move to accept and file a Mission Broadband report as presented.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any comment? Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So unanimous. Next up is the UT monthly report. We have the report before us. It doesn't look like, oh, Millard is here. Anything to add, Millard?
Nothing to add.
And good morning, by the way.
Good morning.
I'm gonna move to accept and file the UT monthly report as presented.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Millard, nothing to add.
Nothing to add.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So unanimous. Request approval of the solid waste agreement with the town of Cherryfield for T10 SD. Millard?
This is the annual trash contract with Cherryfield for Township 10.
And it represents an increase. which,
Yes.
Any questions or comments or action to be taken?
I'm gonna move to approve the solid waste agreement with the town of Cherryfield for Township 10.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Millard, this increase, this is probably what's happening in the market.
Yeah, it's, we're in a solid waste crisis here between Perk and Fiber Right and Juniper Ridge.
Yeah.
We're at their mercy of whatever they charge for tipping fees.
Well, and I think, a lot of municipalities are seeing,
In the same boat, yes.
That's the state's problem, they're paying for it.
any further discussion? We're ready to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Millard, before you go, any update on the repair of that bridge on Everett Road?
Nothing new. I was in hopes to meet out there with the guy from Nature Conservancy and the Franklin Fire Chief to discuss what we need for maximum weight to get a fire truck across that bridge. The guy from Nature Conservancy had been thinking 53,000 pounds, but two of these Franklin trucks are 10-wheelers, and they would be running closer to 65,000 pounds.
What about
And
logging trucks, Millard? What about logging trucks that have 100,000?
Yeah, I think Nature Conservancy owns that road and owns the land around it, and I think they are not gonna let logging trucks use that road. If you were logging in that area and not on Nature Conservancy land, you wouldn't be coming out that way. You'd be going out across Sugar Hill down through Eastbrook.
No? Well, they gotta hope there's not one loaded rogue.
Well, I think that's up to Nature Conservancy to post the road for weight limits and try to enforce it. Otherwise, we're between a rock and a hard place. The paper companies, when they put in a bridge, they design it for 150,000 pounds. So they don't have an issue with log trucks.
Bill, are you familiar with the Soil and Waters culvert and bridge replacement program?
Yes, smart stream crossings.
Yeah,
Exactly.
this doesn't qualify for that.
Well, no, because the concrete abutments are already in and all we're talking about is the decking.
I see. Okay, that's all I had, John.
Okay, next up is airport. We have the monthly report in front of us. Leroy, anything to add to that?
Nope, I got nothing to add.
I'm going to move to accept and file the airport monthly report as presented.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So unanimous. Good morning. I forgot that part.
Good morning.
Request approval of Gordon Contracting change order number 2 for $0 and the chair to sign.
Leroy, when I look at the change order, the original contract price is $317,000. It's gone up to $382 for a $64,000 increase. Why does this reflect a 0 increase in that change order?
This was basically a clerical paperwork change. The original change order brought it up to that original number.
So the original change order was for the 64,367.
No.
Correct. That was change order number 1. That was during the whole, we've got the soup in the hole and we need to figure it out. That was the original change order. This one is really just clearing up some clerical stuff that Gordon and Jacobs wanted to get squared away to finally get us to the end of this project, or at least very close.
And what is that clerical?
And what changed? What caused this change order?
It was, I believe it was quantities, because Gordon had to put in the quantities of material. And they knew we only had a fixed number that we could spend. So they needed to change the quantities to represent the actual
What happened?
the twos, yeah. So it was no cost to us, but a cost to them. Because it was, we only had that extra, was it 64,000, give or take, whatever it was. Yeah, that extra 64,000 that we could come up with, and they needed to make their materials quantities equal that number.
Well, it's a 0 increase. So I'm not looking to gift horse in the mouth. So I'm going to move that we approve change order number 2 with Gordon Contracting Incorporated in the sum of $0 and authorize the chair to sign.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? All in favor? Aye.
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 So unanimous. Next up is request approval for a 1-year lease extension for parcel P15, Jeff Case, DBA Plain Air.
Right, so this was, his lease expired. Plain Air and Jeff Case turned over all of his percentage of the company to Wells Bacon. So basically the lease expires tomorrow. So Wells, I told Wells over a year ago, plus or minus, when I saw when his due date was coming up, that it was going to be very hard for us to give him a new lease because he has no airplane in the hangar. So he's had some interest in people wanting to buy that building. So the 1-year extension was try to give him a little bit of time to secure a sale of the building. And that would put us into a new contract, a new lease with a new owner. Or he could come get a partner in the building and put an airplane in it. And then we would have to revisit a new lease.
Well, do you have a waiting list for people who want a lease, Leroy?
Yes and no. What we're having here is, the reason this is a prime building, we'll say, is because it is a building on a lot. What we're having issues with new construction is permitting. And we saw that with the person that wanted to put the marine dock repair building facility. He said that come up to somewheres in the neighborhood of $60,000 for permitting alone on that parcel before he even put a shovel in the ground. And that's what stopped it. And so that, you know, we have a couple of parcels. We have one other parcel really that could be undeveloped, that could be developed for aviation use. But, you know, this permitting thing is just, it's like a big old nail in the foot. We just can't seem to get past. And, you know, it's nothing that we can control either. You know, somebody's just got to go, okay, you know, I want it that badly. I'm going to spend that much money to get permit. So if Wells can sell this building to somebody or put an airplane in it of a partner, then we're in good shape. That puts another airplane in a building here. Like I said, I know he's had 2 people interested in it already. I've talked to one of them very extensively about the building. It's a little small for what the guy needs, but we think he can make it taller. It needs to be another couple of feet taller for his airplane.
Leroy, does it change revenue to have a plane in it, or is the lease revenue the same whether it's empty or?
The lease revenue will be the same. Where the problem crops up is the FAA has a clause in one of their advisory circulars that says you can have stuff in your building, but it can't inhibit the use for aviation. Basically, you got to have an airplane in it. You can put your stuff around your airplane, but your airplane needs to be able to come and go without any restrictions. This person has no airplane and hasn't had an airplane for several years.
And the lease requires, I mean, it's spelled out in the lease that it's a hangar for an airplane. So technically, this extension he's going to be in violation of.
Technically, we could do, it could have been processed a long time ago to do something. Now we have his attention that he needs to do something. And like I said,
Looks like we lost you, Leroy, but my feeling is I'm inclined to vote for this extension if so moved, but this is a 1-year extension. I'm not interested in further extensions. It's an airplane hangar. It's spelled out in the lease. It's an airport. It's not for boat storage or as a primary use.
Well, Leroy, I'm a little confused here though, because we're asked to approve an extension, a lease extension for Jeff Case, but Wells Bacon is signing it. What's the difference here?
From what I understand, because Leroy's, I'm not sure he's still on, is that.
I'm still here.
Oh, you are, okay. The lessor is Plain Air. And it sounds like the assets have been transferred to, the stockholder of Plain Air, or for lack of a better term, is Wells Bacon, is my guess, Jeffrey Case's.
Well, who's Jeffrey Case then? What's he got to do with this, Leroy?
That's and the supporting stuff I sent you was the annual business reporting with Wells Bacon as the president of Plain Air, and a statement from Jeff Case moving his stock over to Wells Bacon. So if you look at the lease, the very beginning of the lease calls Jeff Case. And then as you get into the first paragraph, it does talk about plain air.
It says, I mean, probably it should say, lease amendment, the original lease was between Hancock County and Jeffrey.
But Jeff Case has transferred his interest over to Plain Air.
And then at the very end, it says hereafter call the lesser plain air at 20 Bridge Street.
So, still wondering why this is entitled between Hancock County and Jeff Case and not Hancock County, Plain Air. Plain Air.
Right. And even the original lease, the only place really Jeff Case was noted was in the top of it.
Yeah, and remember, this isn't a new lease, this is an extension of an existing lease. That's probably why it's titled.
Correct.
Well,
That's why I titled it that way, because it was an extension of the original lease. I was trying to tie it all together to keep the verbiage all the same.
okay, so I'm going to move to approve a one-year lease extension with parcel P15 with Jeff Case, DBA Plain Air.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, and my only comment again, this, this, I think it's important to communicate, this is an airplane, my guess is you have, but this is an airplane hangar, there's FAA restrictions there, his original lease, I'm sure is as clear, I have a lease at the airport, it's very clear what the purpose of a hangar is. In a year from now, I would be less inclined to.
I'm assuming payments are being made and there's no
But
issue.
I've got no real interest in going past what this is. I have expressed it to him a couple of times that this building has to have an airplane in it, or, you got to do something else. You've either got to sell it, you've got to get a partner in the business, but it needs to have an airplane in it to get anything any further than this.
Yes.
We're basically giving you the opportunity to sell or come up with a plan and get back to us. And either way, but I'm not bending down the road to keep kicking this can where, because what can really happen is if the FAA really wanted to, it could be an issue with our entitlement monies and so on, because it doesn't have an airplane in it. And I'm not interested in playing that game.
Especially with the demand that's out there. Okay, John, you have a question?
He's all paid up on his lease, right?
He's current in his lease. Leroy?
What's that?
He's current.
My volume, I'm getting a real crackle in the, I don't know, I think it might be on my end, but.
His lease is current. He's paid
Lease
up.
is current, yeah, his lease is current until tomorrow, or tonight at midnight, I guess. So,
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion or questions?
Leroy, when Case transferred to Plain Air, you wouldn't have issued normally a new lease to Plain Air at the time of that transfer?
It's just a stock transfer.
Well, I know it, but
yeah,
I'm really bothered for approving an extension for Jeff Case in the end. I really can't get by that.
It's been Plain Air right along.
Yeah. And it says
So
lesser.
is Jeffrey Case owned Plain Air and sold Plain Air to Wells Bacon,
Yeah, that's
something
basically.
like that?
Jeff Case and Wells Bacon are partners in Plain Air.
And Jeff Case got out of it and Bacon is still there?
Jeff Case got it.
Yeah.
So the letter that Jeff sent, it says, to whom it may concern, for value received I, Jeff Case, have transferred all my shares of Plain Air to Wells Bacon of Mount Desert and release any claims of assets of that company. This transaction is effective 1 January 2010.
Okay, move the issue.
Okay, okay, so we're ready to vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 So unanimous. Thank you, Leroy. EMA, we have the monthly report in front of us.
I'm going to move to accept and file the EMA monthly report as presented.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Anything to add? Nobody here. Michael, all set. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so unanimous. RCC monthly report. We have the monthly report before us. We have Bob. Anything to add, Bob?
Just that it's very, very, very busy right now. Staff is getting overrun daily down there. The little storm that blew through yesterday, within 2 or 3 minutes, we had a structure fire, 2 people struck by lightning in Ellsworth, and it was rescue all within just 20 minutes of each other. It's getting more and more where we're in multiple calls. We're not able to process it.
I'm going to move to accept and file the RCC monthly report as presented.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Anything else to add, Bob?
I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to have the report accepted in front of us. We'll comment on
We're
it.
still having EMS problems. It's a broken record of last year. We had,
So where's your staffing level? Like, what are you short right now?
Well, we're still short one, and that's that QA position. I have 2 people that are training, but they're not at a level yet that they can fill the shifts. The staffing that's, the current staff who are qualified are still filling vacancies for time off and vacations, which they certainly deserve. So that's their availability to work above and beyond that is great. They've had several pretty critical calls over the last couple of weeks. Young man that drowned up in Deer Lake, and murder suicide over the weekend. They've had several fatal accidents. And the horrific child that was burned. The people in Franklin, they've had a real rough time this summer, and there's no relief in sight. And we're in busy season. Quite a strain on them.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion or comments? All in favor? Aye.
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 Unanimous. Thank you, Bob. Next up is the district attorney.
I'm going to move to acknowledge the sufficiency and approve the sheriff's bond as requested by the district attorney.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to move, get it in a second. I'm going to move to acknowledge the sufficiency and approve the deputy's bond as requested by the district attorney.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 So unanimous. Thank you for reading my mind there, Bill.
I'm going to move to remove Justin McNeil from the county payroll effective immediately.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Anything to add? All in favor? Aye.
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 So unanimous. Next up is request approval to hire Lance Thibodeau of Ellsworth as a full-time corrections officer. Pay rate 9A effective July 15th, full benefits.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Anything to add? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
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 So unanimous. Next up is request approval to hire Michael Nemeth, is that right? Of Blue Hill as a full-time correctional officer at pay rate 9A effective July 15th with full benefits.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Anything to add, Tim?
Nope.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So unanimous. Request approval to hire Stacy Stillman of Ellsworth as part-time corrections officer at pay rate 9A effective July 8th with no benefits.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, anything to add, Terry?
Not on that matter. I'd like to just add a notification that we're.
Just a minute, Tim, please.
Yeah,
One call a vote on that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so unanimous, 10, I'm sorry.
There was an email sent, trying to promote.
Yeah, that's-
Notification.
yeah,
Okay, it's on
that's-
yours, it's not on mine.
It's been added.
Okay,
Uh,
I'm going to move. I'm going to move that we approve the promotion of Corporal Robert Lissy to the rank of jail sergeant. I'm sorry, I deleted,
effective 7/8.
effective July 8th
Pay rate of 12F.
with a pay rate of 12F.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, I just want to make sure that's consistent with your memo, and I think it is.
He's currently at 10F, and he just should be moving, laddering in with the percentage position as well.
Yeah. Do you need that language?
Yes, I-
I'll highlight it for you. So moved and seconded, anything else to add, Tim? Or- Aye, everybody's fine, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 10 has been deleted. HR, we have the monthly report before us.
I'm going to move to accept and file a human resource monthly report as presented.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, anything to add?
No.
Michael, you're all set? All in favor? Aye.
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 So unanimous. Next up is request authorization to participate in workforce development compact membership and for the human resource manager to sign. Mary Ann.
So there is a Alphon grant with workforce development being run out of the community college system. And it is money which allows us for the next 3 years for individuals to get $1,200, kind of a matching fund. We would have to pay 50% of what, or they would have to pay 50% for, could be college courses, could be going to training, or even training that we're currently doing, then we could get funding to help support that. The plan is that it's to extend and to improve the workforce in general, and also to try to help some workforce people who might be interested in moving on because they have these ability to extend their training, that they might be satisfied where they are, and to improve our employee status.
So this is for all county employees.
It would be for all county employees. Most counties are currently participating as well as businesses. And it is an attempt by the Alphon family to provide training. A lot of it is upskilling people who may not have other jobs or might currently be employed, but be upskilled to higher level positions within the organization that they are.
So it matches, it's a $1,200 match, right? Or it's $1,200. So it's the match that we'd be matching $800, or are we matching 1,600? Not sure.
So it would be, so for instance, if somebody is already going to a conference or already providing a training, and that training is $1,000, they will provide you with 500 of that, and then we only have to pay 500 of it. If we wanted to get somebody in to do different kinds of harassment training or different kinds of training that we want maybe to improve different kinds of things within our organization, and we were going to be doing it anyway, they would provide us half of that money, and we would then pay half of that. So I'm looking at it as a way of saving money as well as extending possible trainings and education for our community. Also, each individual who is on staff with Hancock County also has the opportunity to take some classes. So if they wanted to continue their college education, that is also available to those individuals. This is a grant that is a 3-year grant and will go through 2025.
So is it a maximum then of $1,200 a year that the worker,
That is per person.
but per year, right? Like, so, or is it, so is that what it is per year?
Per year per person.
Okay, just want to make sure.
So some of it can be used as an individual basis and some of it can be used as a county-wide basis. But the only way we have access to it is if we sign off on the compact. And it does not cost us anything. And the reporting is minimal.
Questions or comments?
Well, I've looked into this and I can't seem to figure out to what extent what training is available, but they list, they do have a list, and the list was grant writing, intimate partner, domestic violence intervention, helping to calm strong emotions with resonant language, self-care, public speaking, critical thinking skills, teaching from the heart, the power of group work, restorative practices, virtual facilitation skills, mediation and conflict transformation. And quite honestly, knowing county employees, I say to myself, who is going to take advantage of these courses? I mean, where's the welding class and the plumbing class and electrical class, and where are those things? And if we offered those things, are we encouraging our present employees to get another trade and leave us to go somewhere else? That's my first issue. The second issue is that this is unfunded. We have no funds for this budgeted. And this is a program that if we wanted to take on, which could cost us, gentlemen, by the way, if everybody in the county took advantage of this, it would cost us $60,000 a year. Over $60,000, and we know everybody's not going to take it, but nevertheless, we have no money budgeted, and this should come before us as an agenda, as a budget item when we're preparing for the budgets and perhaps look at it then.
Can I comment?
Please.
So it is not a budget item in the sense that we don't have to put any extra money into it. It just gives our community members and our employees an opportunity to use that money. We are not required to do any of the funding. I am going to say that a lot of people who attended a conference, I just attended the HR conference with Maine Municipal Association. They used money from this fund to attend that conference, and that was considered fine. And they were going to be going to that conference anyway. If emergency management one is going to a conference and they're already scheduled to go to that conference, this will pay for part of that conference. It does not have to be monies which are newly and focused towards something new. It could be something that we are currently doing.
And may already be budgeted, I
And
think is
it's
your.
already being budgeted, and so we would save money on that budgeted item.
But reading the material, it says half of the training cost is paid by the Alfont Center and the other half is paid by your employer. So if they have a $1,200 course, then they can expect under this program for us to contribute $600 of that.
So what I'm indicating is that what people are doing with the money, and this is true across counties in Maine, is that they are using the funds to help currently send more people to a training if they wanted to, or to pay for training that people are already going to be attending. And so they're not using the money to do anything above and beyond. If a county employee wants to take a class, they can then access this money, but we're not necessarily guaranteeing that we're gonna be paying their other half. But it can be used for them to get books, it can be used for them to pay for the coursework. I'm a believer that any education is good education for folks. And then when you educate your employees, they are more content, they enjoy where they are more, it expands their minds, they might learn something new that they want to, which will value and be of value to them in the future.
So the examples, like when you go to the link and
Yeah.
Commissioner Clark was mentioning, that's just like an examples, because it's
Those are
really
just
the whole.
Correct, and anything in the community college system that people want to take.
Yeah.
And there are lots of courses, I mean, there's even law enforcement courses, so if somebody is interested in studying criminal justice, psychology, and they're in our correction system, and they want to learn more about how to work with our incarcerated people in a different way, that's an availability to them as well. But again, I'm envisioning this as money that will be used for training that we currently have. And paying for part of that, that will be in money saving to the county, that money can then be used for something else. Or for additional training.
So, I have no problem with what we've talked about. In the material you sent us, so that's this document, Workforce Development Compact.
Correct,
So also this inclusion Maine,
that's the second one. That's a different organization.
okay,
They're two different organizations.
and this one is not on the agenda.
They're both on the agenda. They were both in the memo. They should both be on the agenda.
Request authorization to participate Workforce Development Compact membership and for the human resource manager to sign. That's what is on the agenda. That's this first agreement, right?
Correct.
So that's what we're talking about now. I
Two separate
understand.
agreements.
that's what.
Okay, so let's get back to the workforce.
Yeah.
I just don't see any here where we have the option of not paying our half if an employee wants training. So if somebody comes to us and said, I want intimate partner domestic violence training, so it costs $1,200. I don't see where we can say, that's not something we want to contribute to. And you're only going to get 600 from the Alphonse Center.
Yeah, but
We can control our budget and where we spend our money.
yeah, I think her, I don't.
Do you think you could sign up for this? It says that you've got to be a compact member in order to access their funds. You think by becoming a compact member of this Maine workforce, now you can deny the employee the benefit that this workforce provides?
No, what, as I understand it, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but, so correct me if I'm wrong. Please, my guess is that in the course of everybody's employment, there are certain courses that they need to, or maybe the word need is not, but may need or want to take, that may be included in the budget. My guess is the jail has some, RCC certainly, and this is a chance to leverage that money that's in the budget to pay for that, is how I'm reading.
Correct.
So there's no limit to what kind of training you can get with this? You can get any kind of training you want?
Correct.
Yeah. That's how I read this document, Michael.
So the only thing I would say is I think Commissioner Clark's on the right thing, on the right kind of framework of this type of agreement. I think we do need assurance somehow that that's not going to be the case. Because if you sign an agreement saying you're going to 50% is paying by this and 50% is paid by the employer, then somehow there's either it does fall back on the employer, and we would have to state some criteria for eligibility to be able to apply for these, or the assumption is that if you're part of this compact, then as an employer, you're eligible to access it. So I mean, I think there needs to be some degree of assurance. And I'm not saying that's not the case, but there does need to be some threshold there, I think, that clarifies how, or who is going to be eligible and how, what criteria the county's using for this, I guess.
I'm less concerned about eligibility and more concerned by obligation. It's one thing to be eligible for, they ask 600, but are we obligated to pay our 600? That's the thing.
Well, I'm understanding your point now. You're saying, is this obligating us to provide training that we would otherwise be providing or making
Well,
available?
right, because if we decided that this wasn't job related and that we didn't want to participate in this, can we deny the employees our $600 towards that $1,200 grant?
My answer to that in reading this document, please correct me if I'm wrong, is the answer would be yes. Deny.
Well, I don't see where you see it. And why would you have a program? Why would they say, here's the program and you've got to belong to the compact in order to access the program funds? And oh, by the way, you're responsible for 50% unless you don't want to pay it. That's kind of a silly provision in there.
No, but like, let's say, this is a stretch, RCC. Let's say one of those folks wants to go training for
Race car driver.
race car driver.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to say, no, we're not going to pay for it. And we have the right to do that. We have the right to say no.
No, but I think the department head would say, no, that's not in betterment of.
I think where we could benefit, I think where some places where we can benefit from that is like in my department, we're always getting training opportunities above and beyond what the state requires.
Yes.
Like there might be we just sent one of our folks to dealing with mental health crisis issues, which we're going to be dealing with at the time. It's not a class that's in the curriculum. We paid, $150 to send an employee to this seminar. Is that I think the way I understand that is that we could $150 we could, and it's in my budget to send people to training. It's not specifically stated for one thing. I think the way I understand it is, I would pay the 75, and that person would qualify. So I would have the cost savings to be sending them to follow on training, for example, on seminars.
That's how I read it.
We send dispatchers to the NENA conference close to a year for awards. I think that sounds like that would cover half the cost of that, where I don't have to pay that out of training travel. So that's how I'm hearing it.
And then you might be able to extend it and have more training available.
But
So I would say that we should table it and get more information about what the obligation is once we commit to it. If we're committing to it, I think we just need to find out whether we have the right to say, no, we're not going to cover half the costs of the class.
Well,
Because to me, I mean, I'm kind of all in favor of it, but I also totally understand Commissioner Clark's point that, to me, when you're signing up for it, to me, you're committing that, like, they're gonna not have to go through how much they're gonna have to go through the county to get this set up other than putting the request in to get their reimbursement on it. To me, seems,
well,
I'm not sure how much of this is fed through the county.
so I guess I fully understand the points. But I'm just not seeing in this agreement that we're being obligated to provide that.
Well, the whole basis of it is that half of it's gonna get paid by an employer. So they're not gonna give people $600 or whatever if the employers are gonna do a 50% match, so they're just not gonna get anything.
Exactly.
So I mean, that's fine but we just need to meet.
And this says right here, this is an employer-driven program.
And so,
I mean, I don't know why, Paul, that you'd think that we could sign up for a program and that we're not
we can
obligated.
deny, we can say, no, we're not gonna pay for the course, so you can't take the other 50% from the Alphon Center, because we're not gonna pay our half, because we don't get the course.
So to me, this gets back to, we on our side need to go back to the table and maybe generate a policy that's clear on training in terms of that process.
Yeah.
And make it specific to this as well, if that's the case. I mean, I'm not saying we still wouldn't check with them about what you were
Yeah.
stating. But in addition to that, I mean, that's the threshold concern for me, is that right now, we don't necessarily have something in play that's stating how those funds are gonna be authorized, because we don't necessarily, beyond the training within each budget, don't have a separate pool just for training right now. Now, that doesn't mean we're not gonna come in with something going forward that would be different than past practice, but that would be the concern is, well, who then is now making that decision as to what's eligible, what's job related to county related, the position they're in, all that. Ultimately, I would assume that it would be the department heads, probably in conjunction with
HR.
HR.
Yeah.
But if we don't have a policy on it, then I think that could be open to interpretation. So I see the points that are being expressed on both sides right now, as far as I'm concerned. And I think maybe the county should put some safeguards in if we're gonna open ourselves up to perhaps enhance additional training opportunities that we've never done before.
I just want you to all be aware that it's a 3-year grant and that will expire in 2025. So that you're just aware that that's where the money is. And so it's soft money that's available and we don't have to access it. It's just a way for us to leverage our money.
Yeah, and again, I see all these points and I understand your point, Michael, but my only point is that I don't think that signing this document obligates us to change our practice. Now, if Bob wants to send somebody to training, he does it. I think, to me, I just see this as leveraging those funds.
Okay, and because I disagree, I think that's all the more reason why we take John's suggestion. I'm going to move that we take the information under advisement and take action at a later meeting.
Seconded.
So that's a motion to table to a future meeting. Do you want any other, and we're taking this under advisement, are you asking for any further information?
I'm gonna just, I'm sure that we don't want all of us calling Alphon and answer these questions, so I am going to suggest a couple of things I'd like to have Michael do, but not part of the motion.
Okay, and Robert's rules here, motion to table is not debatable, right?
This isn't a motion to table. We're simply going to take it under advisement and then take action at a later meeting. Now, I don't know if that's technically tabling, but to,
Okay, so I'm gonna ask, is there any further discussion? I'm not sure if that's totally in order, but I don't think there is. Mary Ann, anything to add or?
No, I know lots of, several people who are with this program and I will
Reach out.
reach out to them and see if I can provide you with information that might answer questions.
Okay, so moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
So unanimous.
So-
Thank you.
Michael, Mary Ann, obviously, one of the questions is that do we have any discretion over contributing to 50% of the cost of training up to $1,200 by request of an employee? That's one. Can we, for whatever reason, whether it's job related or we just, Bob said, I don't think you need a $1,200 course for race car driving, but you know. The next one is this money available for courses that are already being given to the employees by way of either mandate or desire? For example, they do but they do some kind of training dealing with violent person and whatnot, and can that money be used towards programs that are already being given and might even be mandated by the academy as a standard? And is the third, Michael, is the list of training available unlimited? Can you take a $1,200 knitting course? I think that's the three biggest things I'd like to see.
Okay, now, the second document was reflected in the memo, but it's not reflected on the agenda. So to me, that's not on the agenda. And
No, apparently there's been a miscommunication, I guess.
yeah, so I would,
Well, I'd like to discuss it and basically put it to bed.
well, my point is, I think that needs to be done, but it's not on the agenda. And this is one of those things that should be posted on the agenda. So I don't know, Michael and Mary Ann, if you agree with me or you know, I guess I can allow that latitude, but it has not been posted.
And there wasn't a change at the beginning of the meeting, so I mean,
Yeah,
to be consistent with your practices, I would assume.
and I don't see that as a problem moving this to the future
Next
meeting.
meeting.
No, just,
Yeah, right, we're not creating hardship, we're not creating, no, okay,
Nope.
so I think this just needs to be on a future.
Well, I'm going to make the comment though, Mary Ann, that as you consider this, I've always been very adamant about this board not getting involved in personal agendas that we don't have any responsibility to or authority over. So if this is an issue that we can't vote on, that we're not required to manage, that I've always said, stay away from those things, whether it's supporting, you know, the gay rights movement, supporting abortion, I don't care what it is. If we don't have any authority over and responsibility to, I'm going to encourage the board not to consider these things like, so I'll leave it.
and if I may just state that the reason I wanted to be part of the diversity hiring coalition, and we'll bring it up again another time, is that they, if you want to advertise jobs that you have available, it's another free outlet for just letting folks know that you have positions available in your area. So that it's a free statewide organization for that. And that is why I was looking at it, but I understand it's not on the agenda, so.
Yeah, and again, I think once it's properly posted and all that, we'll deal with it, and we're not creating hardship.
No, it's just another way for me to look for employees.
Perfect. Thank you. Next up is maintenance monthly report.
I'm going to move to accept and file the maintenance monthly report as presented.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Do you have anything to add or?
Nope, it's, we cover a couple of the items further.
Yeah,
Later on.
yep. Okay, so monthly report, we're ready to take action on. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that was unanimous. Next up is Sheriff's Office steps progress report. And then the request to hire E.L. Shea as a sole source vendor as contractor for the Sheriff's Office steps project.
Yes, and that's, so working with Lewis and Mom, he has reached out to see what they gauge some interest in this project. And there's not a ton of it for this year. EL Shea thought that they could work us in if we get onto it right away. And so, as these projects go, this is not an overly large one. It's money, no doubt about that. As these projects go, it's not huge, so some of the interest is just not there from some of the bigger companies. So he has just informally spoken with them, and they're willing to work with us on all of this. So that is why we're requesting approval to hire EL Shea.
So how, are they going to accept the bid price, or are they going to, is it time material, or what's the cost?
Right, so the cost is, so we have a baseline cost from our previous going out for bids. And
we're gonna expect it to be more than that because there was issues that were not addressed. You will approve any funding. This is not, putting the gavel down on saying, let's run with it. We're just saying, can we work with this person as the sole source vendor? They're gonna come back price, and then you approve that.
Okay, then I'm gonna move to approve the hire of E.L. Shea as a sole source vendor based upon availability and the past experience for this job as the contractor for the SO Steps project.
Seconded,
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Unanimous, thank you. Flower bed, annex parking lot.
Yeah, so we worked with the city and we made the applications. And it's basically gonna be a formality to get that approved. And then we'll be able to remove it.
I'm gonna move to approve the removal of the DA flower bed once all permissions have been granted.
seconded,
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion or comments?
I think this is interesting because we tried to do this 15 years ago and no way. They wouldn't allow it.
Couldn't remove.
No, the Historical Society wouldn't let you, can't do anything to the exterior of that building. So it's interesting, here we are 15 years later, it's falling apart,
It is.
which is one good reason to get rid of it, but it's always been right in the way, it's bad for public use, and so
And
it's.
it's not original to the building. It came at some point afterwards, but it's not original.
Yeah, I think the whole thing was is when they took it on, it made a historical building, it was part of it then, so that's why they hung on to it.
Okay, so there's really no action for us to take at this point. It's just,
start to vote, yeah.
We're gonna vote to approve it. Yeah,
oh, okay.
They're
Sorry.
gonna remove it after they get all permissions granted. There's a motion on the floor.
Yeah. There is. And that motion is to,
Move to approve the removal of the DA flower bed once all permissions have been granted.
okay, and that was seconded. Okay. No further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Unanimous.
Dennis on vacation?
Yes, it's
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Treasurer,
I'm gonna move to accept and approve the monthly bills and warrants as presented.
seconded,
moved and seconded, any discussion, anything to add? Monica, Michael, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
aye,
Unanimous. Review financials for the first 2023, first half.
I think I'm gonna owe Julie a 12-pack of beer or whatever we talked about. Those, am I reading the revenue summary? When I think of it year to date, is there a delay pulling in revenues that would make this look better?
No.
It's as bad as it looks, the revenue for deeds,
It is what it is.
so year to date, that should be half of what we anticipated to make it look good.
Where are you looking?
There's the revenue summary with deeds.
Okay, yeah.
It is what it is. There's nothing. I even let them do everything right up through June 30th and then printed these reports. So this is the numbers exactly as of.
So you're saying we're 542 under budget?
That's, I mean, that's for the 6 month mark. Yeah, we've taken, there's nothing, not much you can do about it. We've taken in 306,000.
Yeah.
In the first 6 months. So he goes from here.
So in other words, that 849 that we projected we'd get,
Yeah.
that should, year to date, that to be on track, it should be like 425.
Yeah,
So,
half, yeah.
Yeah, so 425, we're 120,000 under that, so.
Well, that's assuming that it's linear.
Right.
And that was my question, Colleen, is this pretty stable? I mean, income each month? And my,
Depends on the house.
knowing its fees and I think the real estate market's kind of softening, so I don't
I think
know.
that's part of why
Right.
you're seeing that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's ebbs and flows, and there's also probably times of the year, if you go back and run a historical analysis of that line item, I mean, it's probably more like this, not necessarily straight. So I mean, obviously, we could do better by the end of the year.
Well, we get a $15 million sale, maybe that would, you know.
But yeah, there'd have to be some big
I
sales,
think home sales are definitely.
and that's what I'm
Property
understanding, is that
transfers.
it's definitely going the other way now. And even Julie had indicated to me one of the times we spoke recently that things had slowed down a little bit, so.
You know, the other one that, look at is the sheriff, the civil process, because that was one of our big discussions during the budget.
Let's see,
Revenues,
you're talking about revenues?
Yeah,
they're.
so he's at 63, we have a budget of 175. Remember, because we were talking about the increased price of the processing fees.
Yeah.
And whether we, how much we really see. That hasn't pointed out.
This report is, I'm used to something very similar to this, but with another column that says percent.
Well, on
You do
the,
have on the expenditure side.
right, on the expenditure side, it does
You
show.
have that,
percentages.
You
And,
still have-
I wasn't seeing a report myself, I agree, I was trying to find one on this revenue side that showed the percentages. And,
Because that's what I'm used to looking at, but,
I'll have to,
oh, it might not be available.
keep looking.
Yeah.
'Cause I
Just
agree,
two little
I could,
Yeah.
addition.
I could have gone and written in each one.
No, not, I want to be clear, I'm not asking.
He's gonna try to learn how to do a little mental math. Mathematicians.
No, and that's just what you did, you're
On
looking
the revenue
where,
side,
yeah.
yeah.
Yes,
When you're on your expenditure side, the thing to look at too is your stable managers. For example, your EMA directors. You know, if he's 49.86%,
free darn close.
then that's a good indication of where his accounts ought to be that are stable. Because you have,
Timing issues.
well, yeah, I mean, if you have insurance for risk pool, we pay that once a year, that's gonna be. You know, but anyways, did you say any more, John, with revenues?
Now that, I just had those in my head because those are the ones that when we were talking about, massaging those numbers a little bit on the aggressive side, we kind of wondered where we fall.
Anything else?
Well, if you get down through your expenditures. It was. Oh, and, I was gonna ask, Tennessee isn't here today, but if you go to, maintenance. And,
On the expense side?
yeah, on the expense side, electricity and heating fuel, now heating fuel really is propane for us.
Yeah, no, electric,
Well,
Yeah.
heating fuel, electric.
yeah, but heating fuel, that's propane, right, Michael? Colleen, do you know? Well, it says heating fuel, we converted to propane a few years ago, so we never changed the title of.
I think it's all propane, yeah.
So
We're covering the jail completely now too.
did we not know that? Did we not budget for that when we did our budget?
No, we did. This is another reflection of the current state of the economy, I believe.
Wow, we're gonna double that $50,000 expenditure budget?
Well, remember that there are more heating months that have taken place than are ahead of us.
Maybe,
Well.
Definitely.
maybe.
We're definitely gonna go over that number though.
Yeah,
We still have to heat domestic water though, right? We're still heating domestic water with propane? I don't know if that's, I don't know why I'm asking you. your electrical engineering background doesn't tell you that. But between electricity and propane, that's going to be significant.
Dennis comes in every month and stands on his soapbox and complains about the versage rates.
Again, it's not gonna get better. Everything else looks,
Commissioners, or, it's not a big deal, I'm just curious. We pretty much used up all our office. Yeah, it's only 2,500, but
That's with bringing on a new employee, we've had to,
outfit her with office
Yes.
stuff, yeah.
so I don't think we would have anticipated spending anywhere near that.
but again, that's front loaded, that's not gonna
That's right.
happen. Yeah.
I
Have you looked? I was sort of, we dived into, pockets here and there, but in total,
I think in general, it's probably,
we'll make it.
I think so, yep. I thought it was interesting, the animal control program is actually bringing in money. We've brought in a little more than we've spent so far. And now I'm getting ready to send out bills for all the services that were provided in April through June, so that'll start to build up a little more too.
And that's despite having to pay mileage.
Yeah, because there's a 3% fee that's added to their total. We charge back the time, the mileage, plus a 3% fee.
But obviously, we collected a big chunk of those annual fees from each community too, so.
Oh, that's
So
true.
you're
They're
not
all-
gonna
yeah,
see
they're
the
all paid.
revenue.
So
Those
let's,
are all
Yeah.
paid,
yeah, some of that's front loaded also.
Yeah,
That's right.
So over time, that'll be absorbed, but a lot of it really depends on activity from this point going forward.
And we only assessed a portion of their annual fee, correct?
we did, we
Yeah.
prorated
Yeah.
the first quarter out.
That's
No news on getting his vehicle, huh?
I haven't heard anything else. We've seen a request come in for, what'd you say, like 6 vehicles to pay for those vehicles.
Oh, I thought we saw 3.
Four, just now,
I thought
4,
there was 6.
paid for 4.
We have paid for 4, they delivered 4.
So I thought you had said they were just requesting an additional.
No, this is, no,
All right, I must have misunderstood.
They've ordered
Back,
8,
back.
so they got half of them now.
Yep.
2 of those that they ordered, gentlemen, is for the July 1st deputy, which we're not going to hire July 1st, and for a school resource officer, which they still haven't gotten yet. So they've got 2 $60,000 vehicles coming for nobody to drive. So
I saw a lot of them.
But because of that, well, so we should have a vehicle for animal control soon.
Well, I
Is the hope, is the hope, right? Is why we're having this
I
discussion.
understand the biggest problem with that is that the outfit in Massachusetts cannot get the cages for the new one. So it's not, it's held up by that. That's the problem. So until they build the new one, get the cages for the new one and build it, sheriff's not gonna give up on what he's got. And that's why I thought if we could simply take like one of his spares down there that's unmarked, just put a cage between the back seat and the back and give that to him for the time being. That's sufficient enough to, put a stray dog in and get him into a vehicle. But that's a discussion you guys can have. You're not gonna have it with me.
Okay, any other points or questions for Monica here?
When I look at the expense summary, though, it's 50%, plus some of them being front loaded and everything, that's not really a true picture, but I mean,
51, or, oh,
it's 51%, 50.87. Monica, thank you for producing those. That's,
You're welcome.
ready to move on?
the information I really didn't want, places there.
Okay, we're ready to move on? Okay, next up is,
I'm going to move to into executive session under Title 1, Section 405, 6D for union contract negotiations.
Seconded.
moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 So unanimous. So we'll take a short break, wind down.